Matplotlib visualization. This is another library. It's not your MATLAB. It is Matplotlib library. Again, competitors for this is Seaborn and Plotly, but let us see what can we do with Matplotlib. This is mathematical plotting library. You can draw graphs, you can draw pie charts or bar graphs. So any kind of visualization is possible with respect to a simple Matplotlib commands. So let me just show you how to import this. Import matplotlib dot pyplot is a name for it. So it is already showing me a suggestion. I'm just using that. So what I am doing it here is I'm importing mathematical plotting library, which is from pyplot, and plt is just my alias name. You can give your own names for this. So let me run this. Let us see what can we do with this. Let me randomly take a simple list 1 2 3 4 5 y as another list. Again, why did you even take this? See, as I'm speaking about graphs, you do know that we need to have x-axis and y-axis, right? So my x is going to be my x-axis and my y is going to be my y-axis variable. So this is nothing but a list of values, or it can be an array. This y is nothing but a list of values. So let's say in my case it is 1 2 3 4 and 5 6 7 8. Using Matplotlib library, I would like to plot x comma y coordinates by using this list. In my case, element wise, x value is 1 and y value is 5. So the matplot will plot 1 comma 5. In my case, this is 1 2 3 4 5 and 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 is this and 5 is this. So it will plot a point here like this based on the type of graph that you want to do. If you are expecting bar graph, it's a different scenario. If you're expecting a scatter plot, that's a different scenario. In my case, I'm just trying to plot it. So next is 2 comma 6. It will go on plot 2 comma 6. Next 7 3 comma 7. Next 4 comma 8. Next and so on. So x is nothing but x coordinate values, y is nothing but y coordinate values. So let us imagine that we already built a graph. So Matplotlib will also allow you to name this table, to name this graph as with a name for it. So you can give a name for it. You can also write x-axis name for it, and you can also write y-axis name for it. So what is that x-axis value? What is that y-axis value? What is the scale of it? What is the name of the table, graph? All of these things are possible with Matplotlib, guys. Let's take one example out of it. So as I said, x is nothing but a list of elements which are nothing but x coordinates. Y is nothing but y coordinates. So let me try to plot a simple graph. How does it plot this 1 comma 4 2 comma 5 and 3 over and so on? So let me just write plt is my name that I already used. Use a simple method plot. Plot is already there in your Matplotlib, and give x comma y as an input. So x is x-axis, y is y-axis. You can give your own names, no problem, but you have to remember that first parameter represents x-axis, second parameter represents y-axis. Just run this. Remember that it had started drawing a line based on the inputs that I give as per x and y here. So let us try to change values here. Let's say 50 and 16 and 7, so that we see something differently, not rather than a simple straight line. See here, 1 comma 4 is here, somewhere here. 2 comma 50 is here. 50 is here. 2 is here. 3 comma 16 is here. 4 comma 71 is here. 5 comma 8 is here. So comparing with x and y coordinates, the plot method is taking care of connecting these dots, connecting these coordinates. You don't need extra things or extra instructions to be given. Everything is already taken care by Matplotlib. You just need to give inputs. This is exactly why Python is too famous in terms of libraries. It's just a simple name plot. If you know it, just give inputs. It will do that task for you. So now it's very great. What if I want to give some naming to x-axis? You can give something here, plt dot x label which represents x-axis. It means you are labeling the x-axis. Let's say this is stocks and run this. You do see that it gives a name called stocks. If you also want y label, let's copy this. Just make it y label. It means y-axis name. Let's say prices. So this is the x-axis name and this is a y-axis name. X label and y label are the methods you can use for naming the x-axis and y-axis. And if you want to avoid some warnings like this, plt dot show is a method you can apply. Again, that is not an error, guys. It is just a warning showing you that it gave an output from so and so method. If you want to ignore such warnings, just use method show. It will avoid those warnings. So it's as simple as that. Now, great. If you want to give a name for this entire graph, you can use plt dot title and give a name for it. Let's say it's stock pricing and run it. So you can get to see that it's a name for stock pricing. Let me put it here. The position matters as well. So please don't keep X label or Y label or title after the plot. Before plotting only, you should give all these instructions. So give that instruction first, and then finally you can go for these two lines. So what is it doing now? X-axis is named as stocks, Y-axis as prices, and stock pricing as a table name. So this is how you draw a simple line connecting graph. So this is cool and great. What if I want to highlight my coordinates here? So that is exactly where you have to play with the parameters involved in plot library. What I'm just going to do here is I will use a parameter called marker to tell that I'm expecting a circle wherever there is a coordinate. So I'll just write O and run it. You do see that it generates a simple circle whenever there is a coordinate. Okay, maybe you want to have a change of color. Yes, why not? You give a color, let's say orange. It has to be string. You get all that graph in orange color. Whatever color if you wish, like, you can go for it. And again, what are the colors that you need to know and what are the other things you need to know? Always go back to your W3 schools. Very good source of information. Not NumPy. This time we go for Matplotlib. So these are the possible options you can have under parameters. You can have markers, lines, labels, grids, histograms, pie charts. In our case, we are trying to do colors, right? So markers is our concept. So I came here and you do see that, yeah, marker row is this. So if you want to say other alternatives, let me see where is the resources for it. Yeah, so lines style is dotted. So if you want to apply line style, here itself you can apply line style. In our case, you can go for available called dotted. So let us see the parameter dotted. In this case, I go for dotted. So your graph can have dotted output like this. Or if you want this line to be even more better, you can go for line width. You can give a, let's say, 3 pixels. It is going to be, thickened. If you give 30, it will be even. Yes, sir, it looks like. So it's all about playing with the parameters. So nothing logical much in this, but yeah, that's how I do it. I do have a beautiful graph with me, which is on same concept. Let me show you that. So what I'm doing here is I took X values, I took Y values, I gave an X label, I gave Y label, and I gave a title. In the plot method, I am actually giving X and Y. Marker O means you want coordinates to be in this format. Marker size means the size of the coordinate. And the color is nothing but the color of the graph. And the alpha means the transparency, guys. If you make it 0.8, it will become a little more darker. So it ranges from 0 to 1. So the darker it is, the better is the number. If you make it 5, it is 50% transparent. So alpha stands for transparency. Line width is again how much thick you want that line to be. Line style is if you want a dashed line or a dotted line. I think if you give for a dot, it's not there. Let's say dashed, only dashed, you get this. Yeah. So this is how you can play with the existing parameters. Again, there is nothing much of logical things in this. It's just playing with the parameters. So this is how you can plot a simple straight line graph. What are the other graphs? Can we plot multiple graphs in one graph? How to save that image? Yeah, you can also save that image. There is a extra method to do that. I'll show that in a while. Okay, so you just need to apply dot save method to that. You can save these graphs as well. Before that, let me finish all the styles of graph, then we can go for saving image. So what I'm going to take is I have taken three inputs, Y, Z, and T. So Y, Z, T are my array numbers, array names here. And I want to plot these three graphs in one thing. Let us see how does it go. NumPy is just, if I am using NumPy anywhere in this, I can import it and use it. So I'm just applying plot Y, plot Z, plot T because I want to apply multiple plots on single image. The more you want, the more plots you have to write. So in my case, I am using three things. So these are the three. Legend is something. Okay, I'll show. Let me first display this, then you will understand what is a legend. Legend is nothing but a simple box which represents this color belongs to that. So let me now ignore legend concept because you still didn't know this. So you do see that three different graphs on single plot. So what all I did is just took three different arrays and just plotted it. Right now I'm only giving one array, so it is giving me. If you want, you can give y comma z or z comma t with x and y coordinates. If you do not specify any coordinates in first parameter, by default x-axis will be considered from 0, 1, 2, 3, 10 like that. So in my case, if you see here, first one is yellow in color, or let's confirm this. This is a plot from 1. So y is 1. It starts from here in this way, right? So 0 comma 1 is what it considered. 1 is in y-axis, 0 is default value considered because you did not specify x-axis in this. So it immediately considered default value of x as 0, y has 1 in it. So it started plotting from 0 as x-axis, 1 from y-axis. So if you don't specify, it will consider as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. All right, so this is how you can plot multiple things. Now let us see what does this legend mean. Let us run this. The legend means this specific box. It will tell you which color represents which graph. So this minimum, maximum, average, I gave them as labels while plotting the graph. So minimum is this graph, which is in color blue. So blue color is minimum, orange is maximum, average is green. This is how you can plot multiple graphs. In this case, it is plotted from bottom right. You can also change the direction like this. Let's say upper right in this case and run it. It comes on top. If you want upper left, it comes on left. It's totally our wish. The legend is a method, LOC is location, upper left is a position. So you can specify whatever location you want. And there is one more thing called grid, which will display grid behind the graph. So grid will give you grids like this behind. It's just to make you understand accurately where that coordinate is located. So this is how grid is available. Or if you only want x-axis as grids, you can go for axis x. It will only enable x ones, only x-axis plots. If you want y-axis ones, you can only give y-axis ones like this. So you can decide it's horizontal or vertical. All right. So again, if you are rushing to save this image, you can just right click on it. It will immediately give you an options, copy image or save image. There is also alternative of saving this image. You can just write a method whenever, I mean, usually in my real time, we will be generating hundreds of graphs every day. So we cannot come and do this right click all the time. So we write a function where it will save this image and put it in a directory. So I don't think you will be needing it, but if you are desperate to save it, this is how we can save it. All right, so now subplots. I think it's there in your MATLAB. How do we draw subplots? Let me give an example. You see this? Plot 1, x and y coordinates are this. Plot 2, x and y coordinates are this. So subplot is a method that you can use. What does this mean is one row, two columns. So that concept is like this. If I'm expecting two graphs like this, so it is having one row and two columns. So 1 comma 2 means one row, two columns. So you'll get two graphs. What if I write 3 by 3? It means three graphs row wise and three column wise. It will generate subplots like this, just like in your usual MATLAB. All right. So what if I say 2 comma 5? It will generate two rows graphs on five columns like this. These are the five different graphs. But each plot will have different x value and y value, right? That is exactly what we have to take it. X and y is for plot 1, subplot position under first row, second column, first position. So let me run it and show you first. So one row, two columns, and the position of this xy is first position. That is why it is this position. This 2 means second position inside first row and one row and two columns. So if I do one more thing with 1 comma 2 comma 3, it will generate one more. For example, if I want one more graph here, so what will be the logic now? I'll copy this and paste it here. This is going to be plot 3. Let it be the same x and y. So this time I'll be expecting three columns and the position will become third because second is already there. And we write it. Auto overlapping. So it is saying that you already have the same graph, so we don't need. So let's change it with some values. Matplotlib warning, not to remove overlapping plot records. Let us say x and y, something like this. It's okay. This is printing in the same thing. That's why. plot in Matplotlib. So this is our xy and this is our xy. Subplot 2 comma 1 means two rows, one column is first one, and the third parameter is position 1 and position 2. So let's see where did we go for it. Let me copy paste the same content and come to our Jamboard collaborator and paste it. What if I want plot number 3? Let me copy paste the same plot number 3, and I'm saying it has to be 3 rows, 1 column, and third position. This is exactly what we are facing the least. Let us see where we are going wrong. 4. So 3 rows, first column, and if I don't mention it, three comma change in plot 1 and 2, 3 comma 1 comma 1. That we already have it, right? I see. We were not changing an other axis. That's why. Good catch. In the other way also, we were changing it. We did not do it, right? So let me write 1 comma 2 comma 3 1 1. We already have 3 1 1, right? And 3 1 2 and 3 1 3. This should fix it. Yes. So I got 3 rows and first 1 column, and the position of this particular subplot is first position because of this one, and the position of second plot is 2, so it is 2, and position of this plot is 3, so it is 3. So this is rows, this is columns, and this is the position of the graph. So yeah, this is how the subplots can be done. I think it's straightforward even in the W3 schools, but yeah. Let's go and see the other graphs along with line graphs, which will be interesting. I have a code for you guys for the simple scatter plot. This is my x and y, and the scatter is plt dot scatter is a method. This will not change anything, guys. I just imported Matplotlib again, and I just imported NumPy again, and I have x and y as an inputs. This time, instead of plot method like previous one, this time I'm going to use scatter. Let us see how does scatter look like. Let me run this and scatter with x comma y. If I want to avoid warnings, you can go for plt dot show. So this will just plot the coordinates only, but if you want that connection to happen, go for plot method. So this is how the scatter will look like. Again, the same parameter. If you want to increase the size of this balls, or if you want some other colors, you can go for color parameter. If you want some other shape of the coordinate, unlike the circle, there are still parameters for it. So it's just a scatter plot in the W3 schools. You can go and play with the parameters involved in it. So let me just check this. If you see here, by default, he is using 2 graphs here. This is our first graph. This is our second graph. So first graph got a color called blue, second graph called orange. So if you are trying to plot 2 different plots in same graph, it will just change the color by default. You don't need to do that manually. So this is how you can plot two different metrics in one single graph. So this x and y are simple arrays, and scatter is just a method, and x and y are just an inputs to the scatter plot. All right. So let me take you to a beautiful graph that I have. If you see this should make sense to you. I imported libraries and I randomly asked x and y to be generated by randint, which is a random method in our NumPy. And then we applied colors. Again, this can be this colors variable is applied as an input to the parameters. Okay, so the scatter method consists of x and y as an input to the arrays, and c is a parameter for changing of colors, s is for the sizes, alpha is a transparency. C map is the style of color that you want. You can either remove it by default, whatever it is, you can just remove it. And if you run this, it will just choose whatever default colors that you have. So this has to be your, basic understanding of scatter plot. All right. So moving on to bar graph. All right. Sorry. What I'm having right now here is x-axis is having ABCD and y-axis is having T8 110. So bar is a method that I can use here. Bar is a graph and XY are my inputs. Show is just to avoid the warnings. So it is just one method which will compare element wise. Under A category, this is a value of A. This is a B category under the value of B. So this is how you can plot bar graphs. So x-axis is nothing but the categories that you want to do. Of course, bar graph is about x and y, which x can be any category and b can be the value, right? This is how we represent a bar graph mathematically. So it is as simple as this. There is nothing much complex about bar graphs. Or if you want to represent the same bar graph in horizontal wise, you just need to keep h here, which is a horizontal graph. So it will just display the bar graph in a horizontal basis. So I'll keep both for your practice. It is just a vertical graph, and that is going to be a horizontal bar graph. You can also change colors here as well. Again, there is not much of logic involved in this, just usage of the parameters in this. If I say red, it becomes red. If I say height, it's bar h. It will let you know this gap. So if it is a normal bar graph, it will be width. Let me show you the difference. So in the normal bar graph, you can decide how much of the width of the each category that you want to have. If you say 0.5, it will have this much of. If you make it 0.2 again back, you can see that width of the each box becomes reduced. Okay, if you say 0.7, it becomes big. It is width when it is vertical like this, but when it becomes horizontal, it becomes height. That is the difference between width and height. All right. So that is with bar graph. What about histogram? You can also plot histogram graphs in this. So X is randomly generated. Instead of me taking burden of writing values in an array, I'm randomly generating normal distributed values by using normal method. Histogram is a method name. Hist is a method name. I'm just giving one input, and you already know that show is just a errors. So that's how we do histogram on this. So that's it, guys. The more you want to plot, it is just a method change in the Matplotlib. I think there is not much of logic involved in it. It's just one single method name that you have to change, and the entire visualizations will be changed.